Welcome to your weekly Social Jack Influence Factory. Introducing your coaches, Dean Delisle, Kate Hassett, and Jackson Delisle.
Hey, what's happening? Happy holidays, everybody. Kate, what's
Hi.
happening?
Hello. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Oh, it's Wednesday already. Hey,
Yeah.
Jackson, what's
Influence
happening?
Factory
Good. How
Day.
are you?
Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Influence Factory. This is the last one of the year. Holy smokes. Just want to say happy holidays to everybody. Jeez, can you believe it's like, what is it like? I know we just skated through Hanukkah, and then it's like all of a sudden it's, I think, Christmas like in 5 days. Is that right? Or something like that? 6 days?
6 days.
Yeah, it's 6 days.
Wow. All right. Well, anyway, so everybody should know by now. I'm looking at all of our guests on today, but if you want to play with us on social, Kate always tells us how to do that.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Social Jack. And then, of course, we'll be live tweeting the program at Get Social Jack. You can follow the hashtag Influence Factory.
Woohoo, Jackson! I do like the holiday spirit of the cover slide today. So, and Roger said, "Nice hat, Jackson."
Oh, thank you.
Right. All right, everybody. You do know how to ask questions. I'm looking, and it all looks like familiar friends and family. I'm not sure if we have any new folks on, but if you do want to ask questions, just type those into that questions area. And I know a lot of you are on mobile. You can always go to mobile. And Shirley Miller loves the hat, Jackson. Nice job. Okay, and don't forget all the goodies. We are uploading continuously every week, all forums, videos, and all kinds of cool things. And then you can sign up for notifications or make sure you mark for notifications live from the Social Jack platform so that you know each and every time that we upload new goodies up there. So please and always look for those discounts. Real quick, I just want to Jimmy Z has always got it. Hopefully you're feeling better, Jimmy. I understood you have a cold, so this is a rough time of year to have a cold. So I see Barry Goodman on with us. So last night, Kate, we had a Social Jack exclusive event where had a lot of influence, a lot of interviews, a lot of cool, fun things. It was a social experiment, and we had about 50 or 60 good people in the audience. We had Tom Meyer and Barry Goodman hosting. And what did you think about that?
It was awesome. We're really seeing like networking events. We do a lot of networking events. Our clients are throwing a lot of them, but I think the important thing to keep in mind is that we're networking with a purpose, and that's what I really saw last night. People that weren't just like sticking out their business cards as they met you. They were, who do you want to get connected with? Who can I help introduce you with? And so I love that. It's like good networking. Quality.
Yeah, it was all about helping one another, and that's the spirit of 2019. And we're going to talk in a few minutes here about some trends that we see and some things to work on and some things to watch out for and some things that we've learned over the course of the last year. So we'll be covering that here in a few minutes. But I think in the spirit of last night, what do you think about Wayne Messmer coming in with his Cubs World Series ring? I thought that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that was really cool. And
Yeah,
he had
that
a
was
really
awesome.
interesting story to tell too. So he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had quite a life. And Jackson, you talked to him quite a bit about theater. I didn't realize he was so involved with Chicago theater.
Yeah. He actually has a one-man show that he travels around with. So that's, awesome. He's doing all these things by himself, which, is insane if you think about it. You're sitting there and you're doing an entire, he said, I believe he said it was an hour and a half long show, and it's just him up there, and I think that's a very difficult thing to do because you don't have that, like if you drop a line, and I know, he's probably done it millions of times, so it's just second nature to him. But if you drop a line or something, you usually have someone where you can,
Right.
rely on to, pick up some slack if you're, let's say it's not your day, and you're just rolling, drop a line. This person can pick it up or segue into the next uh, best area in the script. So that's awesome for Wayne that he's doing all of it by himself. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
very scary. Gotta be.
Yeah, and the amount of things that he does. I didn't know he owned a financial company. He was the one that created the Chicago Wolves, which I didn't know is a hockey team. And I remember him from the days of being a Hawks season ticket holder and hearing him sing the national anthem every single game at that time. And then he branched out, and Sunday he sang the anthem at the Bears game, and then he sings regularly for the Cubs, which is how I think he got that World Series ring. But man, that thing was ginormous. It like took up the entire knuckle. You know, it was like two knuckles. You know, it was a lot of diamonds on there. Kate, what did you think? You know, I mean, in terms of, you know, we had Barry and Tom sharing their stories. Then we had Colin, who just released Egglesfield, who's one of our influencers, that just released that film with Sylvester Stallone. And it's funny, as much as we interview and know all these folks in our world, I think we learned even some new things last night. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time, particularly about them. And I think also what it's so interesting to talk about is the storytelling skills and how they're kind of needed across businesses, right? Like there's no real person who interacts with anyone who doesn't need some solid storytelling skills and some solid stories to tell. So I think we
Right.
really saw that by a wide variety of different people in the room.
And I think that another theme, and we'll get into the news here in a minute, like I mentioned, but one of the big things for this year, and I think, you know, we started it last night, and we've been talking about it all year here, but I want everybody to hear it maybe just a little bit differently, is the power of authenticity. And Barry, who's on with us, and Tom Meyer and Colin and everybody, you know, and we go through this every time Kate does interviews with our influencers as she's onboarding people. It's like, what is that part of your story that you're afraid to tell? Because it really identifies who you are and who you've become. And it's interesting how many people want to suppress that. And it's our job. You know, how hard do we work to fight with people to go, no, this needs to be told as part of your story, you know? And then Kate will come to me and she'll go, Dean, they don't want to tell that part of their story. And then we strategize and help coach them around that. But so I felt a lot of that last night, and I heard a lot of people telling vulnerable parts of themselves in a networking event, which typically you don't hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the one part of their story that, you know, you don't want to tell. It's like the pain point, you know, and they don't want people to know, but a lot of times it's the part that someone else is going to connect with. So, yeah, I think we should all be talking about those parts of our stories in 2019 instead of hiding them.
Right. Amen, sister. And you guys nailed it. So we also have one of our charities that we support that was there last night called the Harbor. You want to give them a quick shout out and just tell people who they are, and we can go to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. The Harbor is a charity that supports homeless youth here in Chicagoland, specifically young ladies who find themselves homeless more often than not because they're running away from a household situation that doesn't foster their growth. So it's got transitional housing, education initiatives, helping them start on a better path and a better life. Chris Salyard's the CEO, is truly inspirational, and the work she does with these youth. They just opened up a second home. And this is not like a shelter, it's transitional housing. So there's mothers there to help with them, their education and their housing needs. And then in 2019, I'm launching a week program with them with confidence classes, Dress for Success. We're going to do some of the Social Jack digital citizenship in there. So a really great organization. You can check them out at the Harbor. That's HARBOUR.org.
Yep. And maybe we can tweet that out so they can get some last minute donations. I do like that they need simple items. It's funny, the things that we take for granted. We have socks, you know, all of us, I'm sure, that are on with us today that are listening have socks, and we have shoes, and we have shirts on our back. And it's just sometimes these people come off the streets and they just need something. So if it's $1, if it's $20, you know, go to maybe take a break and go to Dunkin' instead of Starbucks, and you'll save $2, and you know they can get a pair of socks. But
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely. And if you don't feel comfortable donating money, you can actually go to their Facebook and they have an Amazon wish list. And just like you said, it's the things you'd never think about: deodorant, soap, brushes, things like
yes.
that. So if you'd rather donate some goods for the holiday, they'll take donations that way, of course, as well.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So anyway, thank you everybody who supports the harbor and other charities that we support. It's a good time of year to think about that for others. So, with that being said, let's move on to a few trends. Now, this is from social media today, so we're going to be a little fluid about this. Before we get into things that we're going to look at in the future, I was given some thought to a couple of big items that I think were part of our culture in terms of helping our clients and helping develop influencers, many of who are listening today. Um, Kate, I think you hit on a really important thing when you talked about telling your story. And some people see that as two different things, but we translate story into social. Do you want to just maybe share some experiences, of how that's been for you this year? And you stepped into a new role going through from a big theme park into, Kate, I
Mhm.
have this whole influencer development program that we're launching, and I want you to be part of this. And woo, look at
Yeah.
where it's a year. It's over a year later. What do you think? I mean, what did you learn and what's your takeaways?
Well, I think storytelling just goes hand in hand with vulnerability. And I think we really saw that in 2018. And we really saw this shift in mindset, specifically with clients that I've been working in these professional business influencer roles that are seeing the value of telling their story. And I think before it was like everyone was thinking like, oh, why do I need to put personal things on my LinkedIn? Like, this is what I do for a living. This is what I can do for you. Like, shouldn't that be enough? And I just think it's just not anymore. If you Google a service that you need online, you get 15 options right away. Even the ones like the advertisement ones that people have paid to get their name to the top of Google. You have companies that are using PR and press releases to get their name up there, but you have an unlimited amount of options. So what's going to be that one thing that makes somebody choose you over someone else? And it's going to be the part of your story that they connect to, whether or not you went to the same college or you went through the same experiences or whatever it is. And so we're really seeing a shift in mindset right now with these banks and financial institutions. And as I've rudely dubbed them, stubby, like kind of, stuffy professionals, but these people are actually using the power of their stories to connect to potential clients. So I really saw a big shift with my clients in 2018.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to pick on Barry because he was a host last night. But think about the shift in Barry Goodman last night, who amazing accountant, had transitioned, sold a family business, was part of a CPA, a large CPA firm, and then transitioned into his own firm for exit planning, and now is part of a national firm. I mean, he's had quite a journey, and he said that was the first time that he's told that story in public.
Mm.
And it's interesting how differently the room responds to you, or the network, so we had sort of a mini social network there. But it's interesting how once you start doing that and having those vulnerable conversations, then you make it part of your story. And then we had Melissa Wilson in the room, who was literally brought Wayne Messmer, and she's helping me work on my book. And everybody that was just like, okay, I think I'm ready to tell my story. Tom Meyer is like 13 chapters in, and she goes,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, stop. She goes, let's just do it the right way and get your story told. And it's
Mhm.
funny how so how many people on with us today have actually written a book or believe they have a book or a story to tell? I'm just sort of curious. Just type in there. Um, if you do, make sure you connect with us, because we have the woman who has the process. We're doing a lot of work
Absolutely.
with her this year, and it's yeah, it's she's super cool. So yep. So
Couple of them. Another thing that was really interesting with the storytelling is how people are working that into their LinkedIn profiles. And so another huge shift that I saw with my clients and myself this year is using LinkedIn the way it's supposed to be used. The common misconception is that it's a resume. It's a list of, duties and responsibilities at your job, but it's really so much more about the story. And I just think of the stamp collecting thing that came out last night, like where there was like 4 people in the room that collected stamps. And had that never been on somebody's bio, it would have been never something to connect with about that. So little things.
Yeah, and and Roger says he uses stories on webinars and on site training, and so storytelling is huge. Now, one of the interesting things that I used to do, Kate, and I don't think we've done it in a while. Maybe we'll put it in our other events, but I use a social exercise to connect the room, and this was like a mini LinkedIn exercise that I started like 5 years ago. And I would say, okay, so, and I would pick certain things based on who was in the room, and I'd say, okay, so how many people run in the room? Like on a regular basis, you're a runner, because runners sort of run in packs and they register and they meet at running events and things like that. So I'd have people stand up, look around, and make eye contact. Then I'd have them sit down, and then I'd say, hey, everybody that likes red wine, stand up. And so they'd turn around, and I do this with a couple of different things. How many people are Cubs fans and how many people are Sox fans? And I'd get the North Siders and South Siders. And what was interesting with that is then I would monitor, look at, watch them, their social behavior at the end when they were networking, and we had cut them loose, and they were always like clustering together. Super. So I want to do that in the new ones, but that's part of what you were just saying, is that when you're on somebody's LinkedIn profile or even at a live event, and you get that connection by all of a sudden you have the same type of drink. Oh, what are you drinking? Oh, that sounds good, or it's like, where, you find out you both went to the same school, or you both like, are musicians, or whatever it is. It's you both read books. It's funny how that just breaks all barriers, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why in our coaching, we'll tell you it's not just about LinkedIn. Roger says craft beer. How many people on with us today like craft beer?
I love craft beer.
So there you go, Roger. You got a whole bunch of, at least on this team, that'll drink with you. Yeah, actually, I love too much craft beer. Bill Haas says yes. So right on. So but it's interesting that don't just stop at LinkedIn, but it's okay to look at what people like on Instagram, or if you're connected to them, or what, can connect to them on Facebook if it's open. You get what I call social clues. So one thing that happened today, Shirley Miller loves red wine. So do I, Shirley. So, hey, we were drinking some red wine last night, or somebody was, so a bunch of people.
We went through a few bottles last night.
So I think what's interesting is having a sense for what's going on with people's lives and what's happening, and I've been caught up in this where all of a sudden I have a great conversation and a bunch of great conversations, and then people go dark. And this happens in sales and business development quite a bit. And so what we look at is like, is there something going on? Were they normally posting or tweeting or on Instagram on a regular basis? And did it slow down or stop? Because it may not just be you and them, but it could be that things are going on in their lives and they just, it's not you, it's not personal. It's really, there's something going on with them. So I just want to make sure people are understanding that in sales, there's that personal element as well. So another big thing is we've done a lot of streaming, right, Jackson? So we have a lot of streaming that we've done over the year. I think, I don't know if you've done an inventory, but I think it was well over 300 or 400 social streams that we did. And then, Kate's teaming up with you with live tweeting and other things that go on around these streams. Have you seen a change or a development in technology as it applies to streaming?
Yeah, I mean, I see so many changes from day to day. Just it changes about, I wouldn't say as frequently as social platforms do, but I would say it's almost that frequent where, there's a new update, there's new features you can use. YouTube, you can, go live directly from your mobile device, your laptop, your, anywhere you got a webcam. And then if you're doing like bigger things, you got a like a media encoder or a encoder for streaming to Facebook, Twitter, all the different ones, YouTube, and those things are always changing, always improving, always trying to make it a better experience for not only the user but whoever's producing, whoever's using the technology. So I think that's a very cool thing, and I can't wait to see what they come out with in 2019. And it's really cool, and I really can't. So I can't wait.
Yeah. Well,
So,
in fact, we're even changing platforms. So most of
yeah.
known us to have been on for GoToWebinar for 10 years, and now we're working on transitioning platforms and things like that. So we're going to take a break in January, but we'll be relaunching in February with a whole new lineup and a whole new technology and all kinds of cool new things. So the idea is it's always evolving, it's always changing. One of the coolest things, Jackson, is there's a tool that you came across that allows us, it's not cheap, it's not free, but it allows us to take a stream and even multi cameras at a location. So if we're all sitting in a room, we could have a 2-camera shoot or a 3-camera shoot, and then stream out onto multiple channels at the same time. What is that technology? I mean, that's sort of new, right?
Yeah, well, I would say it's not new because it's been around for about I mean, it's new in the last 5 to 10
Well,
years.
maybe become more available or more affordable to.
Yeah, it's definitely become more available, and I would say a lot easier to use. Like the user interface on a lot of these platforms started off is so complex. Like you basically had to get a degree in media or film work in order to understand these things, or at least study it for a little while.
Right.
And it's like there's a how-to button for everything. And you
but
can
tell us about the stream. Yeah, tell us about the multi-stream. Yeah, okay.
So there is, it's a very cool platform, and there's tons of them out there. So, but it's basically what it does is it turns your camera into a video switchboard. So you can say, all right, camera 1 go, camera 2 go, and switch in and out from the different angles to see, maybe different people talking, reflecting on who's presenting, who's talking at the time. And, that's very cool when you're talking about doing those bigger streams for live events or even streaming, something like this. If we all were in the same room, which we, aren't, and that's why, this is great for this. But this whole, if we were all sitting in the same room, we could have 3 different cameras, and then switch in between who's talking, and I think that's very cool too, because it just shows the amount of production that's going into it, and it's
do you have the name
cool.
Do you have the name of the platform, or the one that we're switching to, or
the one that we are switching to? Well, I don't know that one off the top of my head. It's in my notes, but yeah, it's very cool stuff, and I can put it in the notes later. So
okay, cool. Thanks for that. So let's move on to 2019, because there's a lot to talk about. So in terms of storytelling, Kate elaborated on storytelling. Jackson was social streaming, making sure. The other big thing, and I think we're going to see it continue to grow, is that we had people using hashtags for the first time, Kate, on LinkedIn, which was, we had to publish a lot of cool things on how to use hashtags. What is a hashtag? I don't understand it. So hopefully everybody that's on with us went through all those lessons. If not, log into Social Jack. But one of the big things they talk about here, and we deal about, this all the time, is that in social media, they talk about the next age of data. And what still strikes me odd, and hopefully everybody's listening, is that we all don't do a great, responsible we're not responsible with emails, and emails are at the core of all social media. They're at the core of email marketing. They're at the core of, getting people into those social streaming events. So, Kate, what do you see on the data side being different looking forward this year?
Well, I think from a consumer standpoint, everyone's asking for transparency. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these opt in for cookies, opt in for email
Good call.
subscriptions, things like that. And with that being said, it's great from a consumer standpoint that people can't necessarily just breach your data. There's going to be a lot more of a lockdown on that, and people just collecting all emails and putting them into their email communications and not ever asking. And from a consumer standpoint, it's also your responsibility to be paying attention to what emails you subscribe to now. So just like we clean out our LinkedIn inboxes and we clean up our social media, like look at the emails that you're subscribed to and make sure you're unsubscribing to anything that doesn't seem relevant anymore. Because from a marketing standpoint, it stinks when we get all these emails that have bounced, when we take the time to put together email communication. And specifically, I remember working at the theme park and we really tailored our platform because we did so many different things. We spoke to all of our different audiences in different ways. And I would spend weeks building these segmented emails only to find that, 100 people didn't even open it because it didn't apply to them anymore. So this is a really good time as the rules are becoming more clear to be cleaning up your subscriptions, who you're subscribed to, making sure everything is relevant. At the same time you do your social media, you clean up your social media, and that way people who are doing email marketing can more effectively speak to you.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call, and I think the idea is to have good processes around that too. It's like when you come off of the event last night, we'll have an outbound email that goes out today. We'll deliver emails, addresses, and contact information to our hosts. So we have a routing system for that. We have communication where we're going to connect to those people on social media, and making sure there's a whole system for that. So upon the point of collection, what's funny is it's like, you get people and they hand the business card, and there's this whole thing about next thing, now what happens, where does the email go? Do you have a CRM system? Do you have an email system? And it's a whole different world. And once you have that, you have one bite at the apple or two bites at the apple, and then people can just click a button and unsubscribe, and so you have to really think about what does the relationship look like with those emails. It's not just a stack of names or whatever. Those are individuals on the other side.
I'd like to go back to a little bit about what you were saying, but more about what Kate was saying with the transparency and the email databases. I was reading an article the other day that was talking about that, mainly with the email databases. I can't remember which one, but they said that a lot of them are moving towards when you're uploading, let's say, like a list to do a follow-up email, or just one contact, and you have to add them to a certain group. And when you're doing that, it'll ask you for implied or expressed permission. And I think that's very cool too, because that's going to, I don't know how that'll differ on their end, but I really hope to see, a lot more, user friendly.
And I think this goes to Rick's comment, is like he says, I unsubscribe from an email and I get blasted. So implied means that we tell people when they register for an event that they're opting in to Social Jack and Forward Progress. And they're also opting into our sponsors. And it's their choice that once they get a message that they can opt out. And most everyone that you get an email from, or any email that we send out, is CAN spam compliant, which is the act that was passed over 25 years ago. But that means that when you opt out, you're opted out. Now, we do have a couple different domains that you do need to opt out from, depending on if you're part of our academy or maybe you're part of our marketing group, depending on how you're working with us. But what's interesting, as Jackson mentioned, implied, which means, that means that these people haven't physically double opted in to you, but it's implied based on how they've registered. And so, you just want to read what you're doing. And a lot of times you're given permission without even knowing that you're given permission. But one of the things that Rick is seeing and a lot of us are seeing is that when he unsubscribes, he still gets blasted. So even after he unsubscribes, well, this means they're not compliant. And so the one thing you can do is, as users, and I think, Kate, to your point, you're going to see a lot more of this, is you can basically click the spam report button and report that domain. So once you start doing that, they'll pay attention to you because they get so many of those, their ISP will shut them down.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this being said, if you're somebody who's in charge of email communication, email marketing for your company, you might want to start at trade shows or however you collect emails, adding in that, do you subscribe? Do you, and then you just cover all of your bases. It's just an extra little checkbox, like, do we have permission to send you emails? And then you don't really have to worry about it as much.
Well, and we're even exploring switching platforms. I mean, a lot of times the platforms are good and bad, and it's like, I always think about this. I'm like, well, we're using Constant Contact, and I think Mailchimp, depending on who we're delivering to, and then we have our other Social Jack platform, and so it's funny how. I always believe, I'm like, well, don't they just block Constant Contact because it's an email marketing database? It's I'm like, if you think about it, I'm like, why don't they just block all that? Because usually it says it's an email marketing system, not a relationship building system. So who knows? All right, we got tons more to cover here. So, Kate, we had a year of PR. Your team writes a lot of PRs. Joe's team optimizes those. And I think we use it for SEO, search engine marketing, SEM, and search engine optimization, as well as putting our influencers and our brands and our clients into the press at probably the most reasonable price on the street. So, all in all, do you see things changing? I mean, they're talking here about marketing and PR will integrate more. And I think we've sort of seen that this year, but it sounds like it's a continued trend.
Yeah, I think people are catching on to the fact that PR is just a different form of content marketing. And so it's like if you pay the money, and I know we're one of the cheapest ones out there to do a press release or a press release package, and you use that in so many different ways. It's like you said, it's a boost to the top of Google, it's a boost to the top for your SEO, it's helping you get found first, and then it's content. Yeah, it's a blog. It's something you can post about on your website, on your social. You can turn around and put it as an article on your LinkedIn. You can link to it on social for literally forever after that. And it's just establishing you as a thought leader in every single aspect, and then saying, oh yeah, by the way, I was in the news. And so when you can pay amount of money for something like that and repurpose it in so many ways, I mean, that's like invaluable.
Yeah, that's well said. That's something that I think a lot of people overlook. It's like, oh, a press release, it's a one-shot deal. I'm going to be in the press. No, what happens is, just so everybody knows how this works, when a press release goes out and it gets picked up, and we guarantee a minimum of 250 news agencies taking that press release and pointing back to wherever you want them to go. And so if you think about the power in that, Google looks at that and says, wow, this is pretty credible. We know that Barry's in the business transition space or exit planning space, whatever he wants to be known for. And all of a sudden, all those news agencies are validating his website to Google and saying, you need to put this up to the top because it's very relevant. And now we put that on social, we put that in LinkedIn profiles, it becomes explosive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to add, along with the PR, the press releases and things like that, when you have press releases or even LinkedIn articles that you are writing and publishing, there are, when you think about the visual aspect of that, repurposing it for visual content, so like
Yeah.
graphics, things like that, there are so many now. There's websites out there that you just make an account. A lot of them you got to pay for, but if you decide to do it, you can go to any of them. I think the one that we've used is Lumen 5, and that one will turn any article that you have. You just put the copy and paste the link in there, or you can copy and paste. You wrote it in a Word doc first. You can copy and paste that directly into there, and it'll take that and automatically design a video for you using the content. And then if you want to, you can go in, edit it, swap out different sentences, but it'll find things that tie to the sentences that it's putting on the screen. It's very cool technology, and that is actually a big thing that I think we're going to see a lot more of in 2019 as well. So
Yeah,
cool.
and does that sort of cross over into the I don't want to say the augmented reality space, but I know that that's a little bit different, but I think the one that you showed me, which I thought was fascinating, took a blog post and turned it into a video. But I think there was even another technology that was coming out or that came out that actually has taken anything that you write and turned it into like an infographic, which, Kate, wouldn't that be the dream? So we don't have to sit there and pick it apart. All of a sudden you feed it in like a copier, and at the other end comes out an infographic. Even if it's partially wrong, at least it's a head start,
Well, and all of the things we're talking about right now also play into number 5, which is AI for everyone. That is what this is. These are AI powered platforms that you're going to plug this information into, and this artificial intelligence will read the article, pick the best phrases, and then grab those, put those in a video, pick the best video background graphics, and do all the transitions for you. So if you don't have a video design bone in your body, do not worry, because all of them will do it for you, and it's very simple, easy. It's great stuff if you want to look into that. So I definitely recommend it. So
yeah. Now here's what's funny. So I'm gonna just say, let's see, I got Barry, Bill, I'm gonna say Cindy. I would say Jimmy's in that camp. Roger, maybe. Rick, Shirley. So you have to imagine Kate and Jackson and anybody that's, I'd say, younger than 35. When we were working with technology originally, we went from punch cards, and the rocket ships were going up with the exact same horsepower that these things have, right? So it's just funny to sit here and hear this and think about this just happened in 2018, and this is just going to happen in 2019. And I was listening to a podcast called Strategic Innovation earlier, and about the fact of how if you're going to be in business, that you have to think about not just being innovative, but being strategically innovative. And you have to change things up on a more frequent basis. We used to be able to develop a package or a program and just let it run its course. And that, maybe it was, Sony originally was running their course in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years sometimes, and then re-innovating, and then it dropped to 6 months. And this is when Apple kicked their ass and was really re-innovating things on a more frequent basis. And now, what do we see? A new iPhone? Is it still once a year, or it feels like twice a year now that we see iPhones?
Doesn't it? Because you'll see, like, they'll be like iPhone 8 and came out, and then you're like at the end of the year you're seeing like the 12, and you're like, what?
I just bought this one.
Yeah, like they update so much, but they're also.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what Jackson always helps me with this, but I'm not exactly sure how I listen to music right now, but I'm pretty sure it's just a chip in my head and I don't realize it, because I get in my car and I sit down and it automatically plays like one of my playlists or one of my podcasts, and I go, okay, I'm just gonna like listen because I have no idea where this is coming from. And I start pushing buttons and I get lost. So I don't know if I'm the only one out there like that. I love my music, but what do you guys use for listening to music? We're not even talking about the personal side here yet. Kate, what do you use?
Spotify all day, every day. That's where I get all my music.
I know I was complimenting. We got a Christmas card today, and it says, "Hey,
Yep.
listen to our playlist, Jimmy Z. This is for you because I know you do this stuff too. Jimmy Z's classic about making playlists. Rick Gosser's Pandora. I do love Pandora, but it's like, hey, just out our Christmas song list on Spotify. So
Yeah.
social.
Spotify has really like turned music into a social media platform. Like Jen is on our writing team, our social media team, and she created a playlist for her Christmas party, and people can just add songs to it. And it's very cool. Follow me on Spotify and you can help DJ this party coming up. I mean, that's amazing. See
Wow.
what your friends are listening to. It's really a great platform.
I know. And so Jackson just is switching me over from Pandora to Spotify. So I'm giving it a chance. And Holly's got, what is that, Apple Music or something like that?
Yeah, and I had Apple Music for the longest time. Is from the minute I had an iPhone, I had Apple Music. As soon as they released it, they were like, it's like X amount of dollars per month. And then when I became a student in college, I was able to knock a few bucks off that price, which was nice. And then I wasn't a student for a little while, so I couldn't use that discount. I was like, time to switch to Spotify. So, well, also because I switched to an Android, and Android with that, it's like you have to download your music from a computer. So you don't have like a built-in, like you're not tied to just like with iPhone has Apple Music. You're not going to get Samsung Music. So what I did was I was like, it's time. I'm just going to switch to Spotify. And ever since then, I am in love with Spotify, and I don't even know why I didn't before.
Except I notice, and I was listening again to the strategic innovation about you don't always have to be first, you have to be best. And then there's a balance of being first, being best, and then writing on the success of others. So, we're talking about what was the first one? Geez, I can't even remember it now. It was in the first music platform or social network.
Napster.
Napster, right? Kate, do you remember Napster? Oh my gosh.
I do. That gave our computer all of the viruses. Every virus was Napster related. So and then there was LimeWire, which was the downfall of the computer in the middle of me writing a huge term paper, and it combusted.
Yeah. So see now, Bill Haas and I are reminiscing about punch cards in the stream here, and now we're just talking about Napster, and that was only like 8 years ago, wasn't it? It was like wasn't even like that long ago.
No, it was longer.
No, it was longer ago. It was like in high school. It was like 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
Sorry, I do a lot of time travel, so I get.
No, yeah, I definitely remember that. We had a computer dedicated just to Napster because of how slow it made that computer.
Look at where we've come. And then anybody remember modems? We're not going to go there. Okay, there we go. So now, yeah, so now we get into this self-adoration society. And so, I know we talked about streaming, and streaming is going to get better. And so in terms of micro influencers and entrepreneurs will take over in 2019. Kate, did we perfectly position ourselves or what? Come on.
I think so.
Yeah. So what do you think they mean by this? Will take over in 2019.
When I read it, I pictured. Have you ever seen the movie?
I did ask Kate Jackson, just so you know.
No, go ahead, Jackson.
I know, but
go for it.
I don't know. Jump in when I can. I thought about the episode of Black Mirror with the social.
The one Kate had me watch, which I'm still freaked out on.
Where you voted, did you like this person? Did you not like this person? Then knock them down a few. Your influencer score, basically, which was very scary. And I hope
China's doing that right now, so that's what's really scary. So.
Well, let's stay here for as long as we can.
So Gen Z will change how we market. Generation Instagram. Kate, any thoughts on this? I'm not as into Instagram.
Can I go back and say something about the micro
yeah, please,
influencer
please,
thing?
please,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. So I just want to comment on that. I think that this huge boost of micro influencers is because people are finally using LinkedIn the way that they're supposed to be using. And we're seeing, of course, we're seeing micro influencers on Instagram that have a couple thousand followers. But I just know from people with smaller companies that have reached out to influencers on Instagram, even micro influencers, people that have as many followers as I do, that are asking for astronomical amounts of money to run influencer marketing campaigns, like starting at like $2,500, $3,000. I'll do nothing for less than $3,000. And these are people that only have 1,000 followers. So I think as we're seeing other more professional companies and services cross into the business influencer space, they see that, for one, these business influencers are very authentic. Like, let's be honest, Dean Delisle's not going to back anything, right? It's going to have to be something that goes towards his brand, because he really understands his professional brand and his personal brand. And that's how I think a lot of influencers in this business space are. They're going to back things more authentically. They're not going to ask for as much money. And then also, they have fantastic networks that have been with them since the beginning of their career. So, I mean, that's a loyal following as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I think it's taking over.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting because we're doing this test in Southeast Asia and they're wanting to talk about business influence, but they haven't even tackled social selling. It has literally taken almost 10 years and I'm just reading this one about want to ride my buying cycle. Social will take on all aspects of the buying cycle. My gosh, we've been teaching this for 10 years. And I think now the world, like you said, is catching up to the business side of social. And it's crazy because we've been in it for 10 years, but it's just, the people that come to us this very day in our very classes that just don't realize the impact and the importance of it. But I think that's the change. And it's like, as much as Southeast Asia and the groups, and when we see this global part, it's crazy to think like they're almost just now on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And they want to be so bad business influencers, but they can't even get LinkedIn just yet. It's just blowing me away how there's a shift in our world and in social. And I think that's going to get into the buying cycle part too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that kind of leads us into number 10, what we were talking about Generation Instagram. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I also think that Gen Z is changing how we market. And so this is and I'm a teacher of, you talk to your audience like you know them, because you've collected data, you market to them like you know them, you speak to them like you know them, you create products like you know them. And so this Gen Z has been born with phones in their hand, right? They've been looking at screens since before they can even remember looking at screens. And so I think it's really going to shift how we market, and specifically how we market on Facebook, because Facebook has made it so easy for people to create ads and execute and sell a product. But Gen Z is smarter than that, and they know the ways to get around it. They know how to do their research and look for reviews and not just buy something because of one compelling ad. So I really think it's going to shift everything.
Yeah, and
that's not true. If I see a compelling ad, I buy it immediately.
Jackson, you have a problem.
No,
actually, maybe in 2019.
I am just the perfect consumer. Is what I am. It's a gift, really. No,
for yourself.
Yeah, you gotta treat yourself. So.
Jackson's the only one I know that they must be thinking we're running some sort of ring at the house, because Camp Delisle gets an Amazon shipment nearly every single day.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
commercial. They're bringing the boxes and they're singing. That happens in our driveway literally every single day.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah, well, we were putting up Christmas lights. I had to climb off of the roof and get the boxes from the UPS guy. I was like, oh, hold on, give me a second, they're for me. But there's every time I'm looking at a stack of empty boxes right now. I'll say Amazon.
Yeah. So Kate, well, I mean, think about this. Okay. So we've had a couple of events this week, and you literally ordered everything online and it was delivered by somebody, and we didn't, other than the bag I carried in today, we really didn't, have to go to the store, stop and get anything. And it's almost become this whole societal thing where we know I mean, look at, it's like the craziest thing. What is that, Jackson? DoorDash or whatever is the new one. And now,
Yeah.
I thought that Uber Eats was the new one. And now all of a sudden there's DoorDash and there's these
Mhm.
other things bringing us whatever we want, wherever we're at,
Yeah, this Amazon Prime has made living in the city of Chicago possible for me, hands down. Yeah, because I don't have the access to be able to just drive anywhere. I get my groceries delivered, I get Amazon delivered, I get cat food and dog food and cat litter that I would never be able to walk home from Jewel. It all comes to my door. My roommate hates it, but I love it.
Yeah. So where do we think shopping is going next year? I mean, do we see any thoughts? Let's just go to that side of it, and everybody can chime in that's on with us. You guys have been doing great, by the way. We have a lot of people chiming in. In terms of shopping, Kate, do you see anything different now in terms of social tying into shopping in terms of the way that we live, and normal
Yeah.
lives?
So in terms of the social, I think that the businesses are making it a lot easier with the customized buttons like on Facebook. And I think we're going to see that on other platforms where you can customize those buttons going back to your webpage, like buy now. But in terms of where it's going as a whole, shopping in 2019, I think we're going to see a lot more of the voice marketing. Like our friend Nick Meyer, he came on from Red Fox Creative and talked to us about voice, but I'm seeing that pop up. At first, it was like just Domino's, like, hey, Alexa, order me a pizza. Now we're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it in Amazon. We're seeing it with everything, radio stations, concert tickets. And I think that's really where it's going to go next.
Yeah, I think I'm about to get a Domino's pizza because Kate just said that, and I got this whole place just hooked up to Alexa. So
Perfect.
Oh my gosh, yes, Alexa. Oh my
But I mean,
goodness.
how smart would it be for like the Uber Eats and the DoorDash and the Grubhubs of the world to get on an Alexa? Because then you can even do more and quicker. Like I need this from this place, this from this place, this from this place, deliver it. Charge your card, it's over.
well, have you guys seen the Facebook one that is coming out? I don't even know if it's available yet. I just know I'm seeing commercials for it all over the place, even in front of YouTube videos. And it's the Facebook portal, and you can get one that
Yes.
is a portrait, and you can get one that is a landscape. And it's exclusive, I believe, to just the Facebook video chat. Which the last time I used it wasn't amazing, but that was a while ago, and then I
It's
just
like an
stuck to
Alexa.
one part.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like you can search things on there. They show people cooking, getting recipes, but it's already like propped up on a stand for you, so it's not sitting like on the table or anything.
Yeah.
It's sitting up so you can like cook and then just swipe.
Oh
You
yeah,
know who needs to do that is Pinterest.
yes.
Well,
Right.
yeah. So
What's it
I
called,
mean,
Jackson? It's Facebook
the Facebook portal.
portal. Yeah, I know somebody that actually just ordered one, so it's definitely available. But oh man, so
Oh.
yeah, so Kate, it's like if you wanted to, and I'm not saying you want to, but it's like they show this woman that's getting ready, that has a date coming over, that's cooking food, and oh my gosh, I burnt this and I did this. She gets her dad on, who helps her rescue the dinner, and of course he wants to meet the guy, and she shuts off the portal right at the end.
Oh yeah, that'd be me too.
Yeah, and also all of these are coming out with they're basically it looks like all of them just bought a bunch of iPads and then
Doesn't it?
and then slapped their logos on it. You know what I mean? They just look
Right.
like that looks like the iPad Mini a little bit bigger. I don't know the sizes, and then the like a giant computer tablet. So that's it's crazy how we're getting to a point where we're losing that diversity, and how the phones and the devices look. They're all gonna eventually probably just look like a MacBook and an iPhone, and they're all gonna probably look the same at some point soon.
I'm gonna predict on here that Facebook's gonna win this, and here's why: is because they've got almost every person in the world on Facebook. They have 2 billion people between Instagram and legitimate users of Facebook and Instagram. And I think they have the audience, and they just have to clean up their, as Jackson said, their delivery technology, which I'm sure they'll just acquire and make it better. But you know, I think they're going to be the ones, and they're smart if they are, because they already own the social network. And Kate, like what you said about shopping and commerce, so now it's like social. And just like with Alexa in the background, I could say, Alexa, turn Jackson's music on, or whatever, turn it louder. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you're going to have this thing where I think we're going to get into this whole new, and this almost seems like science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think what also adds to it is Facebook just launched like their own streaming thing too, and they're having their own like Facebook Watch shows.
Yep.
So that's going to be, I think that's really
Oh,
going
good
to
call.
add to
Yeah,
this as
all
well.
my Cubs updates, every single game. I thought they had the best summary coverage of every single game. So if you missed a game, they had like these 3 to 5 minute videos where you could just watch fast every highlight. And they were some of the best highlights that I saw. ESPN wasn't part of it. It was just Facebook's licensing somehow with MLB or with the Cubs. So it's a changing world, and how we're watching things. I can't even keep up with the Hulus versus the other, you know, the consumable
Yeah.
television. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and I'd like to make one last comment, just summing this up real quick, is that in the best of, well, not the best of my knowledge, it's my experience with these products and stuff, because yeah, I'm the guy that'll go to Best Buy and just play with all the new technology before I buy anything, and that is, you know, the Amazon Echo Show is great if you are an Alexa enabled user, you know, if that's going to match up. So I think because Facebook's kind of late to the game in all this, I think a lot of them, like the only reason I got an Amazon TV or the Amazon Fire Stick thing, the only reason I got that was because I already had an Alexa, so I could connect it all. And that's the same with, I know people get the Google Chromecast because, you know, they have a Google phone. They got everything hooked up that way. So it just depends, I think, on the connectivity that you're already set up with prior to purchasing one of these. So I think that's what's going to determine the success of
And
any.
Roger agrees with the Hat Man. So, Kate, what do you think?
I think that if Facebook uses this to their advantage, they can do it really well if they keep producing more products that will work for this. But I also think that maybe Google will do better, because I actually think a lot of the younger generations are getting off of Facebook. So, you know, they're not logging on. So for their niche, I think it's great, but I think they're going to have to continue to put out products that work very well with the Facebook portal, or it will only do X, Y, and Z, and it won't, you know, it won't be interesting to a younger generation.
Well, any other predictions that we can get in from the audience? So far we have Amazon votes coming in terms of the great race. And here's what's interesting on the business side. So we'll show up to a ton of meetings, and you know, I can't tell you the number of go-to meetings and different other meetings that I have on my phone. I think Rick said, why not just turn our iPads into phones? I think it's just too big. But I do see where you're going, because they have so many different variety of sizes. But I see our meetings and our webcasts and our streams really being delivered almost any way you want to consume it, which we talked about at the beginning of this year, that the power's in the hands of the consumer, and the consumers will dictate what we're using and what we're doing. So as we make these predictions and as we make these guesses, I think the most important thing is just to stay checked in, tuned in, and do whatever's right for your audience. You know, so we all have different audiences, everybody that's listening to this podcast. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that you hear what we're saying and say, is that what my audience wants? Is that where my audience is going? Is that what my audience is doing? And don't be afraid to ask them. Don't be afraid to say, hey, where do you get your news, or where do you watch your information, or how do you determine, you know, your business advice? Where do you get that? How do you tune in? All of you are business advisors. All of you are helping people out there. You're all influencers. But to Kate's point, you know, she mentioned the younger audience is going more to Google and off of Facebook. And so are you going after that younger audience, or are you going after the audience that's still on Facebook and the audience that's on LinkedIn? So as always, we run out of time on these great segments. But most importantly, from all of us here, we want to wish each and every one of you an amazing, safe holiday. And please, if you haven't done it, finish your plans for 2019. You know, this is the time when you want to take and collect all the knowledge that you've gotten from us and other sources, and make sure that you put that into action in the new year. And Kate, anything you want to say to the audience?
No, that's all.
Jackson?
Thank you.
Happy holidays, enjoy the season, and just spend time with family. You know, like if
friends,
you had friends, family. If you've taken the time to look at your 2019 plan and finish that, then take a break and go spend the day with your family. Honestly, it's the season. It's the
Jackson,
season.
are you giving me a signal here? I'm just catching this. So, all right, cool. So,
yeah. I want to just play catch, you know?
Yeah, there you go. Without a device in our hand. All right, everybody. Well, listen, from all of us at Social Jack headquarters and from our Social Jack family, we wish you and your family a healthy, happy holiday and a healthy, happy new year. And Roger's telling me to buy Jackson another hat. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate you and happy holidays.
Bye, y'all.